A lonely nerd and a delinquent baddie get together to fight aliens and ghosts after they get abducted and possessed. It all started on a regular day when the delinquent Momo got dumped by her gold digger boyfriend. Though he kicked her in the guts and cursed her for being broke before breaking up with her, this needy girl still gets depressed because he was her first ever boyfriend. Her best friends make fun of her, asking what the hell did she even see in that guy. She replies that he looked a bit like her favorite actor, and she always wanted an awkward masculine boyfriend like that. Her friends tell her that no one can afford a masculine boyfriend at this age when people don't even know their gender. Later, Momo drags herself through the corridors when she notices some boys bullying a poor nerd named Ken. Momo takes a seat next to the poor nerd and starts talking to him, and since the bullies don't dare to mess with her, they quickly turn their faces around. She then heads out with her pent-up stress reaching its limit, when suddenly, the nerd Ken comes there. He doesn't dare to face her, but yells that he knows Momo is in love. Momo tells him to come out of his Delulu world because, even though she is desperate, she won't fall for someone like him. However, what Ken means is that she fell in love with the content in his magazine that talks about UFOs and aliens. Momo tells him she's not interested in all those stupid conspiracy theories, but Ken is still persistent like a YouTube pickup artist. Momo tells him to shut the hell up because she doesn't have time for his yapping when she just got dumped. She tells him that he doesn't have any friends because he is a pushy nerd, leaving Ken stunned. Momo immediately realizes that she was a bit too harsh with him and picks up his book while apologizing. She tells Ken that she doesn't believe in aliens, but in ghosts, and he suddenly starts laughing at her. He says that just because she gets ghosted doesn't mean they exist. They start arguing about whether ghosts are real or aliens and decide to prove to each other that they are right. At night, Momo goes to a creepy abandoned hospital because according to Ken, that is the place where aliens abduct humans. On the other hand, she has sent Ken to an abandoned tunnel, saying that it is a spiritual hotspot with many ghost sightings. Ken is nervous, and as he heads closer to the tunnel, he feels the tunnel drawing him in. He asks Momo if she has ever seen a ghost. She tells him that she has not, but she is sure that ghosts exist because her grandma is a shaman, and she has learned all about ghosts from her. Because of her grandma, she always had to do a good luck ritual whenever she left the house and walked to the school while raising one finger above her head. Momo says she always felt odd doing that, and everyone made fun of her, so she got mad at her grandma for telling her to do something so stupid. That is why she had a big fight with her grandma and stopped doing the good luck ritual. However, she now understands that she was not mad at her grandma, but at the boys who made fun of her practices. She tells Ken that she was always proud of her grandma's unique job, and that is why she wants to believe in ghosts. Once she is done with her story, Momo asks Ken why he is into aliens. He tells her that he doesn't need a reason to like aliens, and she is fine with that. Just then, Ken sees some bloody footprints on the ground that stop right where he is standing. He immediately turns around to see if anyone is nearby, and to his horror, there is the ghost of an old hooker who tells Ken that she can give him a hawk tuah for $2. Ken freaks out and starts running away from her while screaming. Momo asks what's wrong, and he tells her that he just ran into a lewd old woman, trying to convince himself that he didn't just see a ghost. Momo tells him to stop running because the old ghost called Turbo Granny will chase after him, and if she catches up to him, he will forever be cursed. She is too late in telling this because the ghost catches Ken almost immediately, and Momo only hears his screams before the call ends and her cell phone screen turns red. She thinks that Ken is in danger and rushes to help him when suddenly, the lights of the building go out, and 3 weird-looking people appear. Momo wonders what the hell is happening and tries to run away, but the 3 men catch her. When she wakes up, she is being held captive in a special chair. The 3 men tell her that they are aliens from the planet called Serpo, where only males exist and they reproduce through cloning technology. Excessive cloning messed up their evolution chart, and they have lost all their basic emotions, so they are on Earth to find females here to help them kickstart a new generation. One alien pulls out a massive mechanical schlong out of his pants, which makes her scream, but her struggles are useless as the aliens use their hypnotizing power to put her to sleep. However, just as they are about to take away her V-card, her cell phone rings. They all stop, and one alien goes to pick it up, and then suddenly, the granny ghost comes out of it and smacks him away. She immediately proceeds to bite the balls of the alien and sends him flying. It turns out Ken's body has been possessed by the ghost, and Momo is relieved to see him even in this form. She asks him if he can help her, but Ken loses control of his body to the Turbo Granny, and one of the aliens turns into a humanoid zebra to attack her. The Turbo Granny quickly dodges the attack and then destroys the alien's body. She attacks the last alien after that, but he uses a special attack to send her crashing into the wall. Ken suddenly gets some control of his body back, and he tells the aliens that he is willing to give them anything they want if they let the girl go. He yells that since he had no friends, he always wanted aliens to be his friends. He reached out to them countless times from his childhood, but they never came. He kept getting bullied by his classmates, and no one ever acknowledged him till Momo came along and treated him like a human. He declares that he won't let anything happen to her, even if he has to become a monster for that. He turns into a ghost again, but the alien immediately shoots him and forces him to return to being closer to a human. The alien decides to dispose of him because they don't have any use for males. He then begins manipulating Momo's brain, and as she resists, she remembers how her grandma used to tell her to release her kai from the top of her head. She wonders why she is remembering it now but decides to give it a shot. She tries to release her kai from the top of her head, and suddenly, the device holding her down shatters. No one can believe what just happened, but Momo finally realizes that her grandma was preparing her for this day the entire time. She feels her body overflowing with power and sends the alien flying with a kick, and he crashes into the moon, which was actually their spaceship in disguise. The things with aliens seem sorted, and Momo tells Ken that they should escape now. However, he is under Turbo Granny's control right now, and she attacks Momo. Momo tells her to let go of Ken, and with her power, she pushes the old ghost out of his body. However, Ken begins to squirm around in pain, and Turbo Granny says that she has control of his little banana, and as long as she has that, he will remain possessed by her. Momo tells her to return Ken's manhood to him at once, but Turbo Granny tells her to come to her tunnel so that they can have a fair match if she wants to save the boy. Turbo Granny flies away with that, and then the alien spaceship heads straight towards the building. It pierces through the building, and Momo somehow gets out safely with Ken. Later, she injects her kai into his body to keep him stable. They both realize that both aliens and ghosts are real, and now they have gotten too deeply involved with them. Ken asks how he can get free from this curse, and Momo tells him that they will need to beat the shit out of Turbo Granny to get her to free him. Ken says he will go there and work it out somehow and starts walking away. He takes off his shirt and pants and tells Momo to wear them and go home. She tells him that she can't leave him alone after all this, and he asks if she is sure. He says that he is just an awkward guy, and Momo suddenly feels a waterfall between her legs because Ken just recited a line from her favorite actor. She tries calming herself down and asks Ken for his name because she never got the chance to know it before. He replies that his name is Ken Takakura, which is the name of Momo's favorite actor as well, and her mind is blown away. She immediately starts throwing a tantrum because she can't accept that her favorite actor, who was the peak of masculinity, shares his name with this wimp. She begins rolling on the ground trying to forget what she just heard, and in the meantime, Turbo Granny begins getting control of Ken's body. He asks her to give him some spiritual energy quickly, and she frantically slams him into the wall with her power. Momo then says that they need to set down some rules if they are going to work together. The first rule is that neither of them will mention Ken's name, and she will call him Okarun because he was in the occult club. Ken has no choice but to accept this rule, and they head back to the city while bickering with each other. Soon, the sun rises, and Momo asks Ken to come to her home because he needs a shower and a fresh change of clothes along with expert help. However, as soon as they reach her house, she warns him to be prepared for anything because her grandma is really against her bringing boys home, and she almost killed her ex-boyfriend. Ken freaks out on hearing this, and then as he enters the gate, his body suddenly starts burning. Momo throws him into the nearby canal in a panic and then finds that there was a talisman warding off evil spirits on the gate that caused Ken to catch fire. This dimwit removes the talisman so that Ken can come inside, and only after that does she notice that he got a new hairdo after almost burning to death. She leads him inside the house and finds that her granny is not home, so she tells him to wait outside the room while she changes. However, the moment she stops supplying him with her kai, he begins turning into a ghost again and barges into her room. Momo uses her power to slam him into the wall and tells him to turn his face away while she changes. However, the moment she stops supplying him with her kai, he begins turning into a ghost again and barges into her room. Momo uses her power to slam him into the wall and tells him to turn his face away while she changes. When she is done, she gives Ken some of her old clothes to wear in the meantime, but he is still too shy about being in a girl's room. Then suddenly, Momo asks him if what Turbo Grani said earlier means that he's literally like a Ken doll down there. Ken immediately goes to the side to check it out, and to his horror, he really has lost his manhood. He freaks out, but Momo teases him, asking him to show it to her. Ken blames her for this because she was the one who challenged him to go into the tunnel, and she replies that he was the one who came to her first with the occult stories. Ken goes silent on hearing this and then admits that he was desperate about talking to her because he thought that they could be friends. He says that it was just his wishful thinking, and now he realizes that they are too different from each other. He apologizes to Momo for dragging her into the danger and tells her to ignore him once this case is resolved. Momo gets upset at this and tells him that if he keeps shoving people away like this, he will never have any friends. She goes close to Ken and begins poking him to get a reaction, and he suddenly calls her ugly. Momo snaps at this and grabs him by the collar, and Ken says that she has no tact and her words hurt his sensitive heart. While they are fighting, the doorbell suddenly rings, and Ken says that Momo's grandma must be back. She just tells him to stay quiet because their doorbell doesn't sound like this. She suddenly remembers that her grandma once told her that they have two doorbells. One of them is for humans, and the other is one for evil spirits, and one of them is right outside their door. Momo freaks out as she realizes that the evil spirit entered their property because she took the talisman from the gate, and she decides to place it back to ward off the evil spirits. She tells Ken to wait outside their boundary till her grandma gets home, but just as they go outside, the sky turns dark, and then suddenly, the house and the garden are suddenly enclosed by thick stone walls. Ken and Momo freak out because now they are trapped inside and can't put the talisman outside the gate because the gate has been fused with the walls. Suddenly, they start bleeding from their nose, and Momo looks around to find the cause and sees a giant monster hanging upside down over her house. It calls them evil people who broke their promises and tries to punch them, but Momo pushes Ken away from danger, and the monster's punch hits the talisman and the wall. The giant sumo spirit chases them while demanding Ken to give him his banana, making Ken wonder where all this demand for his member was all his life before this day. He then says that the monster chasing after them is not a spirit, but an alien called the Flatwood Monster that has been sighted all over the world before. He believes that the doorbell that senses evil spirits got triggered by the alien, and there must be some similarity between the two. Meanwhile, the giant alien begins spewing poisonous black smoke from its mouth, and Momo says that if they don't do something about it, they will die. Suddenly, things become even worse as Turbo Granny begins taking control of Ken again, and while Momo tries to subdue her, the alien attacks them, destroying the house. They run away and take shelter in a storeroom where Momo manages to push the ghost back, but Ken's left hand still remains cursed. Momo tries focusing and dispelling the curse of the granny ghost entirely, but then Ken gets an idea. He asks her to let the curse take over him, because he can use that power to fight against the alien. Suddenly, the alien finds them and destroys the storehouse, and they barely make it out alive. Ken asks Momo to just release the curse on his body and keep the curse on his mind under control so that he can fight properly, and she tells him that she has not mastered her powers to that level. She still tries her best, and as the monster sends another shockwave towards them, she succeeds in giving Ken what he wants. He can now control his power fully and evade the attacks thanks to it. Momo is impressed, but to her shock, Ken has become a lazy and depressed person in this form. Just like me, but with superpowers. He drags himself towards the alien and just stands there as the alien smashes him with a clap. However, Ken dodged the attack at the last moment thanks to Turbo Granny's power and also tore away the alien's fingertips. Momo is confident that they can win, but then suddenly Ken coughs blood and loses his powers. The alien smashes him into the ground, but before he can do anything else, Momo pulls Ken back. He apologizes that he failed to use the power of Turbo Granny because his body couldn't handle it. He freaks out, wondering how they can defeat the alien monster, when suddenly, Momo gets an idea. Since the alien is using sumo moves, she thinks if they get its hands to touch the ground, it will be defeated as per the rules. Ken tells her that she is a goddamn genius and gets ready to attack the alien once again. With Momo's help, he enters his superpowered mode again and charges at the sumo alien, tearing through its leg with great speed. Momo finishes the job by using her power to force the alien to the ground, and just as its hand touches the ground, it melts. However, the alien has got some crazy core strength, and it does a backflip to get on its feet before its second hand touches the ground. It then grabs Momo and punches her against the wall, and the curse begins to take over Ken's body. The curse suddenly stops, and the confused Ken looks at Momo, who is still fighting back despite taking serious blows from the alien. She taunts it, calling it a cheater who keeps fighting even after touching his hand on the ground, and the alien begins pummeling her. Ken screams at her to let him fight, but Momo eats up all the punches till she is in a crater in the wall. Once she is confident that the depth is enough and she is out of the plot, she pulls Ken towards her and then puts the talisman back on the gate, reinstalling the protective field that burns away the alien. Momo hugs Ken tightly so that he remains out of the protective field, and after a few seconds, as the alien is completely disintegrated, everything returns to normal. Momo is overjoyed that they won, but then suddenly, she loses consciousness because of using too much energy. Ken tries to reach her, but then the Turbo Granny takes over his body. Turbo Granny lifts Momo up when suddenly a wooden brick and a nail hit her head and send her flying as Momo's granny Seiko, a total gilf, comes there. She says that she thought that her granddaughter brought another loser home, but this time, he is not even human. Turbo Granny immediately attacks the gilf from behind, but she has a protective barrier around her that burns the ghost before she can touch her. Seiko knew this is how things would play out, and just as she calculated, the ghost is already in a barrier she has set up. The ghost tries to attack her, but the barrier sets her on fire as soon as she touches it. Momo's grandma begins smashing Turbo Granny, but not in the way you all want to smash her. She beats the ghost with her bat to exorcise it, but Turbo Granny warns her that if she kills her, the boy she is possessing will also die. Seiko says that she doesn't care about that, and it will be better for her if the boys in Momo's life just vanish. She creates another circle around the barrier and then erases the first one a bit, burning the ghost. Hours later, Momo finally wakes up in her room, and the first thing she thinks about is Ken. She runs downstairs where her grandmommy is rewatching Friends like she used to do in her youth. Momo asks her if she saw a boy with glasses, and her grandma asks her if she sent the boy to a spiritual hotspot. Momo affirms and then asks what happened to Ken. Seiko says that she destroyed the evil spirit, and Momo freaks out. Suddenly, Seiko changes her attitude and brings up the grudges from the past when Momo told her that she was a fake and ghosts aren't real. The frustrated Momo bows down to her as she apologizes and asks her what she did to Ken. Her grandma tells her to head to the main shrine, and Momo curses her as she runs towards the shrine, thinking that she will find Ken's ashes there. She begins to blame herself for this because Ken just wanted to make friends, and she got him cursed. However, when she opens the door of the shrine, Ken is peacefully eating rice. He gets really relieved to see her because he thought he harmed her. But Momo shuts the door in his face because she suddenly realizes that she was worried about this nerd. After she curses him for being alive, she finally feels relieved, and just then, Seiko comes there. She teases Momo for being so desperate earlier and asks if she likes nerds. Momo tells her to snap it, and then Seiko says that she locked Ken in the shrine so that Turbo Granny doesn't take control of him. Momo tells her grandma that Turbo Granny took Ken's ding-dong, and she is responsible for it. So she wants to beat Turbo Granny, get Ken his tool back, and end things happily. She also tells the girl about meeting aliens and awakening her psychic powers. But Seiko doesn't believe in aliens at all, and she has only heard about the existence of psychic powers. She tells Momo to forget about Ken ever becoming normal, because Turbo Granny is a powerful ghost that has been around for centuries, and to make matters worse, it seems that there was another powerful ghost in the tunnel that she recently moved into, and the two ghosts have fused together. Seiko says that the tunnel is the ghost's domain, and in the past when she tried to exercise it, she could not enter because the spiritual pressure there was extremely strong. That means defeating Turbo Granny is impossible as long as she is in the tunnel, and Momo would die if she tries to fight her. Despite the risk, Momo wants to take responsibility and help Ken, so her grandma tells her the only way to win. She needs to challenge Turbo Granny to a game of tag and take her out of her domain, which is unfortunately the entire city. If they can bring Turbo Granny out of the city without being caught, she will become quite weak, and then they can defeat her. Momo panics on hearing that because she knows that she won't be able to outrun that monster. But Seiko says she was not talking about her anyway. She opens the door and tells Ken that he needs to beat the old ghost in a race. Ken says he has terrible stamina and can't even sustain the superpower mode for more than a few seconds, and Seiko tells him to begin training immediately. She tells him to follow the One Punch Man training routine and carry Momo on his back while running so that she can control the curse from overtaking him. She tells Momo to level up her psychic powers as well, and she is going to train them both starting tomorrow. The next morning, Ken finds himself in a troublesome situation as he needs to attend to nature's call urgently. But if Momo isn't watching him all the time, she can't subdue the Turbo Granny. Seiko simply tells her to watch him while he relieves himself, but both Ken and Momo say that it is not their kink. That suddenly makes Seiko question how Momo is even controlling the curse. Momo explains that she can see an aura around everything, and when she crushes the ghost's aura that is around Ken, she can keep him normal. She says that right now her power is limited to grabbing the aura of other things and moving them around, but the moment she awakened her power, she felt like a literal god. Seiko advises her to close her eyes and feel the aura with her body because that will make her better at using her power. Momo tries doing that and feeling the aura around her with her skin, but that doesn't work and Ken transforms. When Momo turns him back, he is already at his limit and runs to her house so that he can relieve himself. Momo chases after him to stop him from transforming, and Seiko tags along just to see what happens. In the end, Ken has to face the biggest humiliation of his life as Momo watches him while he drops a log in the toilet. As Seiko asks Momo more about her power, suddenly, Turbo Granny appears in their house through Ken. Momo calls to her grandma for help, but she is unable to move and is bleeding through her nose and ears. Turbo Granny tells Momo that she can curse anyone who Ken sees, and she can easily kill Seiko if she wants. However, she wants to have some fun, and that is why she tells Momo to come to the tunnel tonight to fight her if she doesn't want everyone Ken sees to die. She vanishes with that, and Momo tells Ken and Seiko everything that happened. That night, Ken and Momo wear ceremonial dresses to fight Turbo Granny and wish them all the best. They take the train, where Momo takes off the ceremonial dress to wear her usual clothes instead, because she doesn't care about protection as long as she looks good. Ken and Momo reach the tunnel and Momo says that maybe they shouldn't bother trying to drag Turbo Granny out of the city and defeat her right here. She says that they were able to defeat the giant sumo alien, and the Granny Ghost is nothing compared to that. Just as she says this, they find that their path has been blocked by a giant head that seems to be straight out of Attack on Titan. They freak out, but to their horror, another head is blocking the path on the other side. Momo is grossed, but Ken tells her to stop being distracted and release the power of the curse on him so that he can transform. She does so, and he turns into the lazy and unmotivated superhuman, who walks towards the demon head to destroy it. Then suddenly, his power vanishes and Ken panics, asking Momo to do her job properly. But she is the one who is more worried because she can no longer see his curse. Turbo Granny suddenly speaks up, saying that she returned Ken's weenie to him because she understood that they were using her power to their advantage, and now he is no longer affected by her curse. Both the mouths attack them together, and just as they are about to be eaten, Momo recalls her grandma's advice to taunt Turbo Granny about her speed, because she is easy to rile up. Momo suddenly yells at the old ghost, asking her if she is afraid of losing to them in a contest of speed, which is why she is going to kill them with brute force. She mocks her, saying that she doesn't deserve the name Turbo Granny, and the ghost suddenly appears in her normal form to accept the challenge and asks her the rules of the game. Momo says that they are playing tag, and she wins if she catches them, but only after she has counted for 10 minutes. Turbo Granny accepts the rules, and as she starts counting, Ken and Momo run away at full speed. However, the old ghost is a cheater, and she counts down to 10 minutes and 20 seconds and then begins chasing after them. She grabs Momo with her power and then encases her in a prison of meat. And as Ken tries to free her, Turbo Granny walks up to him and says she is going to count 10 minutes for him now. He says that it is cheating, but Turbo Granny says that Momo never specified how to count 10 minutes. She doesn't give Ken any time to react as she finishes his countdown as well. But right as she is about to touch him, Ken jumps at her and bites her with full strength. Turbo Granny can't free herself because of the ceremonial clothes Ken is wearing, so she decides to possess him first and then rips off those clothes. She thinks she should eat Momo and finish things quickly, but then suddenly, she is unable to move. The moment Turbo Granny possessed Ken, Momo could sense her aura, and she crushes her with her powers. Turbo Granny fights back and attacks her, but Momo manages to subdue her power, and Ken misses the attack at the last moment. They are happy because they have reduced Turbo Granny to a small snake. But then suddenly, the evil spirit of the tunnel begins attacking them and demands them to return Granny. Ken and Momo run out of the collapsing tunnel, but the evil spirit follows them by traveling through the roadside. It suddenly bursts out of the roadside in the form of a crab, but luckily, it is stupid and gets easily distracted. Ken asks Momo to let him transform, but she finds that incredibly hard because now the real body of Turbo Granny is inside him. She manages to control Turbo Granny's power and Ken transforms right as the crab is about to hit them. They run away at full speed, but Ken can't turn around a corner and jumps off the cliff instead. Momo begins screaming in his ear that they are falling, so he uses his full power and twists his feet like the blades of a helicopter because physics and anatomy don't apply to him. He manages to slow their fall and lands on the ground safely, but then suddenly, the crab spirit jumps on them. Momo is thrown into the air, but she freaks out as she sees dozens of faces on the evil spirit's back. She gets on Ken's back as he begins racing through the town, and people begin clicking their pictures because they think they are stupid. Momo realizes that no one can see the spirit crab and even Ken appears normal to them. He tells her to stop worrying about small things because he is about to run out of gas. Momo comes up with an idea, and she directs Ken to a hot spring. The crab crashes into the building as it chases after them, and then Momo pours hot water on it, thinking that it will cook it and they will be saved. Somehow her random bullshit go method really works, and they immediately resume running out of the town. Suddenly, they see a huge group of people running towards them, but only after they come close do they see that they are all zombies controlled by evil spirits. They begin running in opposite direction, and Turbo Granny laughs at them, saying that she borrowed help from some spirits at the local cemetery to stop them from going outside. They suddenly find themselves surrounded on all sides, and even the crab is back in action. Momo tells Ken to go full throttle, and he says that it won't help them get out of the city. She tells him to trust her, and turns him into his superhuman form. Turbo Granny says that she has won, because Ken can go full throttle only once since he used one charge on the helicopter move. Momo gets on his back, and Ken dashes ahead at full speed. Momo clears his path using her power and uses it to swing across the buildings like Spider-Man. They cross the horde of zombies, but the crab is still in front of them. Momo yeets a car at it, and then Ken runs over it and leaps over the building behind. Momo corrects their direction by swinging from a pole, and they can see the train that leads out of the city, but then Ken returns to normal. Momo uses her force ability as wings to slow them down and also helps Ken transform once again so that he can help them land safely. However, as they hit the ground, Ken loses consciousness after reaching his physical limits and Momo can't do much either. She tries to wake him up and then suddenly notices that she let go of Turbo Granny during the landing. To her shock, Turbo Granny and her army of spirits is right in front of them, and she fuses with a crab spirit to kill and eat them. She taunts them, asking if they plan to challenge her again, and says how long do they want the countdown to be this time. Momo suddenly says that she only needs 1 second to get away from a slowpoke like her. Just then, a train passes overhead, and she grabs it with her power, getting on it and away from the ghost army. Turbo Granny chases after her and gets on the train, saying that she has nowhere to run now. Momo says that is her line, and grabs her with her force hands as the train nears the boundary of the city where Seiko is lying in wait to finish the job. Turbo Granny strains to reach Momo, but the train crosses the city boundary and enters the barrier erected by Seiko just then. the power of the barrier burns Turbo Granny and the crab, and the spirits that were inside them are released as they turn to ash. Soon, the train stops at its final station, and Momo drags Ken to the platform, and he wakes up with his mind still in the middle of the battle. Soon, Seiko comes there to receive them, and they go to the tunnel to pay respect to the girls who were violated and killed there, and then turned into evil spirits because of that. Seiko says that shamans like her have chased after Turbo Granny for a long time, and she always was found near places where spirits of girls who were tormented were present. She says that maybe Turbo Granny just wanted to support them, but humans and ghosts should not intervene in each other's business if they want to exist peacefully. After that, they return to Momo's home, where Seiko and Momo begin fighting over crab meat, but Ken can't eat anything after everything they have been through. He soon gets ready to go home and Momo tells him that she will see him tomorrow, making him realize that he now has a friend. The next morning, Ken hides behind a pole as he prepares himself mentally to say good morning to Momo. However, as he reaches the school gate and finds Momo waiting there, he suddenly starts getting cold feet. He thinks that she might be waiting for someone else, so he meekly ignores her, but she bumps into him and tells him that he is too late. She keeps talking about the aliens that kidnapped her, and Ken keeps listening because he still can't believe that a girl is talking to him. However, as soon as he reaches the class, he gets treated like crap by everyone as always, but Ken decides to forgive them all because he is in a good mood today. On the other hand, Momo is totally dazed out, and even when her friends shine mirrors at her, she doesn't react. They are worried about her because she didn't reply to their texts and didn't even come to school yesterday. They think that maybe she went back to her loser ex, who rejected her again, and now she is heartbroken. Momo sighs and lies down on her table, and her friends think that she is about to cry. But in fact, she is just trying to suppress the urge to talk about aliens with Ken. He too feels the same and blames himself for being a wimp and not being able to answer Momo's questions this morning. They patiently bide their time and, during lunch break, head to each other's classrooms that are right next to each other, but because of the huge crowd, they pass each other. They try to check the cafeteria and the snack distribution on not finding the other in the classroom, but timing is a bit and they miss out on each other once again. They sit on benches on either side of a corridor and begin thinking that maybe their friendship isn't going to work out. Ken fears that Momo must have realized that he is a boring loser, and she feels that he must be irritated by her because she was too eager and impatient. They begin heading back to their classes with their heads down in disappointment and clash right in the middle of the corridor, sharing a very short accidental kiss. They freak out because of the accident, and then realize that they were searching for each other this whole time while thinking that the other one was avoiding them. The situation becomes really awkward, and Momo tries to change the topic when suddenly, her friends who were watching them the entire time speak up. They say that Momo and Ken kissed right now and ask her if this guy is her rebound. Momo panics on hearing that and says that she will never kiss a four-eyed nerd like him, and Ken claps back, saying that he will never let a bitch with a nasty attitude kiss him either. They begin yelling at each other and say that they don't want to see each other again. They go to their classrooms, but Momo's friends totally ship them. Ken goes to the toilet to relieve himself, thinking about how he is going to apologize to Momo for this, but as he opens his zip, he finds something very wrong with his tools. On the other hand, the girls in Momo's class have surrounded her, and her friends are telling them that they just saw her kissing a cute nerd. Momo gets flustered as she tells them that it is just a misunderstanding, and then Ken enters her class, panting and sweating. He tells Momo that he needs to talk about something very important with her in private, but she dismisses him, saying that she doesn't want to. The girls begin teasing Momo for being too cold to her boyfriend, and she tells them to shut up because there is nothing going on between her and the nerd. She says that she doesn't feel like talking to him, and Ken gets upset. He asks Momo if she is embarrassed of being his friend and then quietly goes back to his class since she doesn't even reply. After the school ends, Ken begins heading out, wondering if Momo is still angry with him. He accidentally bumps into a pink-haired girl who apologizes and asks him if he is fine. Ken kind of freaks out at this because the girl is pretty and is treating him nicely, and as she begins getting more friendly, Ken feels his heart pounding rapidly. At the same time, Momo comes there, feeling bad about hurting Ken during the day. She plans to apologize to him, but when she sees him with the pink-haired girl, she gets jealous and thinks that he lied to her about not having any friends. The pink-haired girl leaves Ken after her friend comes there, and they start talking about how dumb Ken was to fall for her acting. They talk about how virgin nerds like him don't even get a chance to talk to a girl, and it is fun to see them mistake the kind actions of a random girl for interest. Momo gets pissed at this, so she makes a tub fall on the bitch's head with her psychic powers. Ken appears worried for her, but then Momo suddenly clings to him, cheerfully saying that they should go home together. He is confused about what is happening, but Momo just gives the pink-haired girl and her friends a side-eye as she takes him away. After that, Momo apologizes for her rude attitude during the lunch break and says that she was embarrassed about the accidental kiss and not about being friends with him. Ken is touched by her apology, but then suddenly, he remembers that there was something more important he wanted to discuss. Momo asks what it is, and Ken tells her that his balls are gone. Momo immediately takes him to her house, where she can't stop laughing while Ken explains the problem to Seiko. He says that when his sausage returned, he thought everything was well and didn't notice that his eggs had vanished. Seiko is disappointed that he realized it so late and then says that she will take a look at it. Ken freaks out because he isn't showing his junk to her, but Seiko says that she is going to look into his soul. She arranges a tub filled with water in which Ken dips his feet, a doll with a talisman placed on it, and a regular mirror. She then takes a fan and smacks Ken while insulting him, and he freaks out because that was not what he thought she was going to do. He thinks that she is just messing around with him, but when Seiko smacks him a second time, Momo says that she saw Ken's aura move when she hit him. Seiko is certain that the aura is not Ken's, but of some other entity that is hiding inside him. She tells Momo to pull it out the moment she hits Ken again, and both of them get ready. Seiko smacks Ken, and Momo pulls out the aura inside of him, but it slips from her hands and vanishes. She freaks out that she let it go, but Seiko points towards the doll and the talisman. The talisman burns, and the spirit that was inside Ken finds itself in the doll suddenly. The doll runs away before Seiko can catch it, but Momo finds it by sensing its aura. She grabs the dolls with her power and then opens the door to find them flailing on the floor and cursing them. The doll says it will kill all of them, and Seiko realizes that it is Turbo Granny. Momo and Ken are shocked because Turbo Granny was defeated in their last fight. Turbo Granny says that she is not going to die at the hands of amateurs like them and explains that the moment her body hit the barrier and started burning, she changed to spirit form and possessed Ken's body. She had no spiritual energy, and she was waiting for it to build up so that she could have her revenge. Ken says that she can't do it now and threatens her with a talisman as he asks her to return his balls. Turbo Granny laughs, saying that if he kills her, he won't get them back, and if he wants them, he should kill the two women. Ken gets furious at her, and in his rage, he suddenly transforms into his superhuman form. Everyone is shocked by this, and they wonder how Ken can transform if Turbo Granny is no longer inside him. Seiko realizes that Turbo Granny was trying to hold on too tightly to Ken when she hit her with the fan that expels evil spirits from people. So only her consciousness was thrown out, and her power is still within Ken. Seiko says that they have the advantage now because only she can put Turbo Granny's consciousness into something other than a doll. Turbo Granny freaks out, and Seiko begins smacking her left and right with a fan. Ken turns to normal quickly, and Turbo Granny runs out, but Seiko chases her and begins thrashing her again. Momo calls for a truce and tells the old ghost that she doesn't really hate her because of her sympathy towards the girls who were wrong. She offers to return Turbo Granny's powers if she returns Ken's marbles. Turbo Granny accepts the deal but says that Ken's precious family jewels aren't with her because she dropped them somewhere. She takes them to a park, where she tells them that Ken's marbles are covered by her spiritual energy, so they appear like solid gold balls with 2-inch diameter. Ken and Momo frantically search for the balls but don't find them, and Momo throws shade on him, saying that they possibly can't find such small things. Turbo Granny is relaxing and says that maybe some spirit or monster already took them. She explains that Ken's marbles were full of life energy, and spirits love collecting things like this because they believe that collecting life energy can turn them back into humans. Momo panics because it means finding the balls is even harder and asks Turbo Granny for help, but she tells them that it sounds like a you problem. Momo and Ken get angry at this and begin stomping on her. The next day, as Ken enters his class, some guys immediately get friendly with him, asking if he is dating Momo. Ken says that he is not, and they ask him to hook them up with Momo because she is a smoking baddie. Ken finally realizes that Momo is pretty because this entire time he was so happy about finding a friend that he didn't notice. He then suddenly begins punching himself to get the impure thoughts out of his head, when suddenly, the boy says that they have heard that Momo just lets anyone sleep with her, and he has been looking forward to that. Ken gets angry as he hears this, and Turbo Granny's power begins leaking from his body. He grabs the boy by the collar and transforms, telling him to stop spreading fake rumors about Momo. The boy is brought down to his knees by the intimidating power, and Ken frantically apologizes as soon as he turns normal. The boys are confused because they couldn't see anything change about Ken, who runs back to his seat and tries to hide how scared he is, when suddenly, Turbo Granny pops out of his bag and asks him if he is enjoying her power. Ken freaks out, grabs his bag, and runs outside the classroom. Once they get to a quiet place, he asks her what the hell is she doing outside Momo's house, and Turbo Granny says that Seiko let her roam free because she can't do anything in the form of a toy. She then tells Ken that her power is causing trouble for him and says that if he lets her back inside his body, she can take the power with her and leave him peacefully. Ken is not falling for that and stuffs her back inside, when suddenly he hears someone's voice. He freaks out, but fortunately it is Momo. He is about to tell her about Turbo Granny, but she shushes him, and Ken drops the bag. He then looks at Momo's face and confirms that she is indeed cute and starts shying away from her. Momo runs after him but fails to catch him, and because of that, her mood turns sour. Her friends ask if she had a fight with her boyfriend, and she repeats that he is not her boyfriend. Her friend says that Ken is a good guy because she heard that he fought some boys in his class because they were bad-mouthing her and calling her a hoe. Momo is even more confused about why Ken is avoiding her now. On the other hand, the person behind the rumors is the pink-haired bitch named Era, who has a superiority complex, and she thinks that she is the reason everyone comes to school. Because she was humbled the other day when a tub fell on her head and Momo took Ken away, she wants to get back at her by spreading rumors that she is an easy rider. However, the reason for her hatred is not simply petty. She was able to see Momo's psychic power that day, and now she is convinced that Momo is a demon, and she is the hero who has been chosen to stop her. This Delulu dummy has proof that she is the chosen one because she has a golden ball that fell from the sky, which is obviously a sign from above. It all happened on the day Ken and Momo were fighting Turbo Granny on the train, and she dropped Ken's marbles. One of them landed on Era's head, and as she picked it up, she became able to see the spiritual world. Ever since, she has been carrying Ken's left nut in her pocket and caressing it often, unaware of what it truly is. Suddenly, her friends come with some things she asked them to bring, like an exorcism handbook and an old cross. She plans to defeat Momo with it, and her friends rethink their life choices that brought them close to her. Era says that she sees a woman in a red dress in the field, but her friends don't, and now she is certain that it must be an evil spirit. She hides behind the wall, but as two boys come there, she begins acting like a clueless girl with them. She signals her friends that they will do the hero stuff after school, and coincidentally, Turbo Granny sees everything. During the lunch break, Ken and Momo are having lunch together, and he still can't face her. Turbo Granny is there too, and she gets into a quarrel with Momo, but Ken stops them and says that Turbo Granny said that she found one of the golden balls. She says that a girl found one of the balls, and that might have awakened her hidden spiritual powers that make her able to see spirits. However, that also means that the spirits can see her, and she can be in danger. Momo is worried about the girl now, and Turbo Granny says she will introduce them after school. As they get together after school to search for the girl, Era approaches them and asks to talk to Momo in private. She seems quite sincere, so Momo decides to deal with her quickly and tells Ken to wait for her. And only after they are gone, Turbo Granny reveals that Era is the girl she was talking about. Era leads Momo to an abandoned warehouse, where her friends were lying in ambush. They pin Momo to the ground and zip-tie her arms, and then Era sits on her and tries to exorcise her with the cross. Momo uses her power to throw her friends into the trash, and Era is even more sure that she is the demon now. Since her cross is not working, she takes out the golden ball and presses it to Momo's face, saying that it is the holy weapon that will help her save the world. Momo tries telling her that she is pressing Ken's family jewels against her face, but Era doesn't believe her. Just then, Ken comes running there, telling Momo that Era is not the bad guy here, but she is being targeted by someone very evil. Just as he says this, an evil spirit pounces on Era, taking her with her. The spirit calls herself Era's departed mother, and claims that she has been watching her all this time, and now that Era is finally able to see her, she wants to always stay with her. Ken transforms to free Era, but the spirit is faster than him and easily catches him. She swallows Ken whole, and Momo tries to stop her, but she can't use her full power because her hands are tied. The spirit smacks her away and then swallows Ken, before turning to Era and telling her that she has been waiting for her to see her for 10 years since the first time she was able to see her accidentally in childhood. Era is unable to process anything, and she asks the spirit if she is not Momo's minion. Just then, Momo appears out of the rubble and tells the spirit to give Ken back. Era realizes that the spirit is not related to Ken, so she suggests that they work together to defeat it. Momo doesn't want anything to do with her when suddenly Turbo Granny crawls out of the rubble with a smartphone she swiped from Momo's friend. She searches about the spirit online and finds that she is a rookie called Acrobatic Silky. On the other hand, Era calls Silky a monster and says that she has the power to defeat her. This upsets Silky, who swallows the girl whole and then blames it on Momo for corrupting her daughter's mind. She shoots out her hair and grabs Momo, while Turbo Granny refuses to help her in this situation. Silky asks Momo to apologize, but she tells her to eat shit, and the enraged spirit swings her around, dragging her through the walls and then slamming her into the ground. She has blindfolded and strangled Momo and asks her to call her mommy if she wants to be forgiven. Momo calls her a piece of shit, and the enraged Silky swallows her too, and then begins crying for her child. Suddenly, Turbo Granny comes to her and tells her to release the kids she swallowed if she wants to live. Silky asks her what she can even do in this form, and Turbo Granny says that she could just give her good advice, and she did that. Then suddenly, Silky catches fire because she swallowed her hair along with Momo, and the cross Era had was actually a lighter. Momo used that lighter to set her on fire, and Silky is forced to vomit everyone out as she pulls out the tuft of burning hair from her belly. Silky thinks about the time when she was still a human and had lost her daughter. She kept running around the city frantically, trying to find her, and that memory makes the feeling of Era being taken away from her even more intense. She curses Ken and Momo for taking away her daughter and throws steel beams at them with her hair. They run away through the narrow spaces in the warehouse, and Momo tells Ken that she has a plan. Silky finds them just then and hits Momo away with her hair before turning her attention towards Ken. She attacks him, but thanks to his transformation, he is able to evade her attacks while carrying Era. Silky uses the tricky layout of the warehouse and her acrobatic skills to close in on Ken, and then knocks him away with a kick. Era is unconscious and defenseless now, and Silky begins approaching her. She has come to the fact that Era won't call her mommy anymore, but she still wants to be with her forever, and her idea of doing that is devouring the girl. She begins walking towards Era, when suddenly she finds that she cannot move ahead. Silky wonders what is going on, and then Momo comes to tell her that her own power has turned against her. Silky can bind anything with her hair, but she cannot leave the things after grabbing them. That is why she is stuck, and then Ken also comes there to support Momo. Suddenly, Silky starts destroying the steel beams to break free, and Momo grabs her legs with her power. She tells Ken to go full throttle and blow the spirit away, but he doesn't know how to do that. He says that whenever he used his power at full throttle, they were in a desperate life or death situation, and he doesn't know if he can do that now. Momo tells him to just kick Silky with all his might, but while they are bickering, Silky tears her hair and attacks them. Momo kicks Ken to save him from Silky's attack and then tells him to hurry up and deal with her. Silky tears through the psychic power and then regrows her hair instantly to attack Momo, but Ken activates his power at the same time and charges ahead, headbutting Silky with his full strength. He slams her through the wall and into the next building, knocking her out. Momo is impressed, but Ken is already out of gas, and Turbo Granny kicks him because he could use her power just once. Momo asks if she should call her grandma to exorcise the spirit, but Turbo Granny tells her to not bother with it because Silky ate one of her attacks right now, and she won't be able to use her power for some time. She then reveals that Era has the golden ball and goes to retrieve it, while Momo wonders how the girl is related to Silky. Turbo Granny soon finds Ken's golden balls, and while he is rejoicing, she drops the bomb that Era is dead. Ken and Momo freak out, and they go to check on Era to find that she really has no pulse. Turbo Granny tells them that it is no surprise because she was eaten by a spirit, and since she wasn't too strong, she was easily killed. Momo tells her to shut up and call the ambulance while she tries jump-starting Era's heart by squeezing it with her power and gets Ken to give the girl some oxygen. It doesn't work, and then Silky wakes up. Ken goes to fight her, but the spirit says that she wants to help them in bringing Era back to life. She asks Momo to take her aura and give it to Era, because that will provide her with the life force needed to bring her back. Momo doesn't trust her and says that she will definitely try to eat them again, and to prove that she doesn't want to harm them, Silky tears apart her mouth so that she can't eat anyone again. Momo is dumbfounded, but then Turbo Granny tells her that using Silky's aura is the only way to bring Era to life. Momo still doesn't trust the spirit, so she tells Ken to transform and stand by in case she tries anything. She then grabs Era's and Silky's aura, acting as a channel between them. As her aura is being taken away, Silky remembers the time when she was alive. She was a single mother who took multiple jobs to support her daughter and even worked as a hooker to get some money. Her daughter was the only source of joy in her life, and they were happy together. Then, on the night of her daughter's birthday, two thugs broke into their house. They thrashed Silky and took her daughter away. She frantically tried to search for her, but collapsed on the road and died there. After becoming a spirit, Silky's memory began fading away. But then one day, the young Era accidentally touched her, thinking that she was her mom, who had just died. The girl did not know that Silky was a ghost, but on seeing her, Silky was reminded of the daughter she had lost. She could not remember her daughter's face, so she believed that she was Era's mother and swore to protect her this time, turning into a monster for her sake. Suddenly, her flashback ends as Momo finishes transferring her aura into Era's body. Momo falls to her knees, and Ken gets ready to fight Silky, thinking she did something to her. Momo tells him to stop with tears in her eyes because she could see Silky's memories, and then Era suddenly wakes up. Silky apologizes to her for turning into a monster who tried to hurt her when she just wanted to protect her. She begins disintegrating slowly, and Turbo Granny tells Momo that since Silky gave all her aura to Era, she is going to die. Since she still has regrets, she won't be able to pass to the afterlife, and her entire existence will be erased and no one will ever remember her. Momo grows frantic, asking if they can't do anything to help her, and Turbo Granny says that nothing they do can bring peace to the spirit's heart. Silky keeps regretting her life as she turns to ash, thinking that her daughter would have been safe and happy if she was not born to her. She wishes that she could have given her a better life, and then suddenly, Era runs towards her. She hugs Silky, calling her mom once again and thanking her for everything. The spirit finally remembers the face of her daughter, and that gives her the peace of mind needed to cross to the other world. Era and Silky cry as the spirit finally turns to dust, and Era prays that she goes to the afterlife peacefully and swears that she will never forget her. Later, everyone goes to Momo's home to eat, and Ken has one eye on Momo while the other on Era as he tries to figure out which one of them is more beautiful and where does he have a bigger chance to score. Momo suddenly asks Era if she hates her because she dropped a tub on her head. She says that it was not a big deal, and she doesn't want them to stay enemies over it, so she is ready to apologize, but only if Era apologizes to Ken for making fun of him. Era keeps slurping her noodles as she tells Momo that she is certain that she is a demon, which is the real reason she considers her an enemy. Momo slurps her noodles even more aggressively as she tells Era that she is dumb and stupid, and she got everything wrong. Era immediately points towards Ken and asks that if she is not a demon, why was Ken looking like one as he fought Silky? On top of that, Era refuses to believe that a beautiful and young woman like Seiko can be Momo's grandma. Seiko immediately folds on hearing this, and she takes Era's side, saying that Momo really is a demon. This further fuels Era's delusions, and she thinks that everyone here is a demon and Momo is their leader who wants to destroy Earth. Momo has enough of her bullshit, so she stuffs her mouth with noodles and starts speaking like a mumble rapper, and no one understands her. Era does the same, and they begin circling the table as they throw insults at each other in Goo Goo Gaga Duolingo, while Ken focuses on the noodles. After Era has her full, she decides to leave the house with a warning to Momo that she will defeat her the next time. Seiko encourages her, frustrating Momo, and then suddenly, Era returns to ask Ken why did he save her numerous times despite being a demon. Ken replies that he doesn't need a reason to save someone, and Era is moved. She says that Ken still has a human heart inside him, and swears that she will save him from Momo's control one day. She runs away with that, leaving everyone bewildered at her Delulu level. Soon after that, Ken finds himself in a pinch as Turbo Granny decides to insert his family jewel back where it belongs. It turns into a full-fledged baseball game as Seiko takes up a bat to hit Turbo Granny's throw. Luckily for Ken, she misses the shot, and the golden ball hits right where it should and reattaches to his body. Ken screams in pain, which is proof that there is something between his legs that can get hurt, and he is glad and embarrassed at the same time. The next day at the school, Momo begins wondering where to find the second ball. She suggests talking more about it during lunch break, but Ken says that he has to work on a report. She suggests going to an internet cafe after school, but he makes another excuse to turn her down. Later, when Momo goes to eat lunch with her friends, they ask her why is she not with Ken. She tells them that he was trying to keep his distance from her, and she thinks that he is hiding something suspicious. Her friends poke her, asking if she thinks that Ken is cheating on her, and Momo doesn't even say that they are not dating this time. She suddenly thinks of how Era seemed to be interested in Ken, and she can't help her curiosity. She tells her friends that she is going out to buy some drinks, but on the way, she keeps wondering if it will be right for her to approach Ken when he told her that he was busy. Suddenly, she finds him lying on top of Era in a risque position, and she drops the juice as her heart sinks on seeing them together. A few minutes earlier, Ken was working out by himself to grow stronger for the challenges he is going to face in the future since he doesn't want to rely on Momo forever. Suddenly, Era approached him and began talking about how she is a human and he is a demon, which means they can never be together. However, that was not going to crush the feelings she had suddenly developed for Ken, and she decided to confess to him. She began moving towards him and leaned in for a kiss, but Ken panicked and smacked her face as he pushed her away. He asked her what the hell is she doing, and she told him that she read in a book that she is supposed to kiss the person she is confessing her love to. Ken freaked out and asked what kind of book says that, and Era told him that it was one of her dad's corn collections. Ken told her to change her reference sources and then tried getting away from her, but Era was not ready to let him go. She began wrestling with him as she tried kissing him, saying that she is having these feelings for the first time, so she is going to kiss him no matter what. As they kept struggling, Era tripped Ken, causing them both to fall to the ground. She closed her eyes and pouted so that Ken would kiss her, and that was when Momo found them. As Momo drops the juice boxes, Ken's attention goes towards her, and he freaks out on realizing that she is going to misunderstand things. He tries to tell her the truth, but she just calls him the worst piece of shit she has ever seen and walks back to her class. Ken follows her, trying to clear the misunderstanding, but Momo doesn't want to hear anything. She lashes out at him for lying to her, and Ken can't say anything in return because he did indeed lie to her. After returning to her class, Momo enters depression as she can't get the feeling of being cheated out of her head. She loses all energy and starts having fits of madness, and her friends are really worried about her. On the other hand, Ken keeps working out in the middle of the class, realizing that it is all his fault for lying to Momo. He wanted to grow stronger without letting her know so that he could appear cool, but it backfired gloriously on him. Suddenly, he notices that the floor under his feet has been flooded, and his classroom is completely empty. He wonders what is happening, when suddenly, he hears Era's cry for help. He rushes outside to see her, and finds that she is scared because the school has been surrounded by complete darkness and the water level is constantly rising. She thinks that Momo did this, and that makes Ken worried about Momo. He goes to her class to check on her, but she is not there. On the other hand, Momo is facing the same thing. The school seems to be completely locked down, and there is no one around. She begins worrying about Ken, but just thinking about him pisses her off. Suddenly, she hears something approaching her and finds that it is a relative of the Loch Ness Monster. She hides behind the wall as she wonders what that monster is and what is it doing here. As she tries taking a peek at it, her feet create a ripple in the water that reaches the monster and alerts it of her location. Momo crouches to hide and fear grips her as the ripples from the monster coming towards her grow stronger. The monster then pukes out a lot of water and then releases a destructive laser beam that it shoots all around the corridor, totally ruining the building. However, on not seeing anyone dead from it, the monster decides to move away. Momo is somehow safe after that attack, and she grows even more worried about Ken now. On the other hand, Ken and Era hear the sound of the monster's attack, and Ken realizes that this incident must be like the time they were assaulted by an alien in Momo's house. He tells Era about it, and she finds it hard to believe that aliens exist. As Ken assures her that aliens exist and they are really interested in human reproductive organs, a monster suddenly appears in front of them. This mutated Hitmonlee attacks Era without warning, but Ken transforms into his superhuman form to take her away from danger. He tells her to get lost because he can't fight while protecting her, but then suddenly, he begins feeling a powerful pressure that undoes his transformation and slams him to the ground. Suddenly, the three weird aliens that kidnapped Momo in the past appear around him. They tell Ken that they want his banana, and Era steps up to protect him. Ken tells her to run away because she is in the worst kind of danger right now, but the aliens are not interested in her right now. They shoot her away with their force attack, and wonder how did she enter the barrier they set up so that only people with high spiritual power could remain in the school. They then tell Ken that they want his banana because it is special. He has shown powers that are beyond science, and they want to research them and transplant them into themselves. Ken feels completely powerless right now, and he tries telling them that it is the power of the curse and he is actually a weakling, but the aliens say that they will find everything about it in their research. They lift him up and begin tearing his clothes so that they can cut off his banana and study it, when suddenly they are tied down by pink hair and a fast spinning thing hits them. Everyone is confused, and then suddenly the spinning person stops and it turns out to be Era, who has obtained the powers of acrobatic Silky, and she is going to use them to protect Ken. As the aliens are sent flying, Ken falls to the ground. Era turns to face him, and then quickly covers her face because she saw his banana. Suddenly, Silky takes over her personality, and then the aliens realize that she also has high spiritual power level. They send the boxing mushroom after her, and Ken runs to the class to find something to cover his body while Era stays back to fight. The mushroom throws some punches at her, but Era jumps over him and rushes towards the alien instead. He shoots a forewave towards her, knocking her down. Era wonders what the hell just hit her, but then the boxer rejoins the action. He keeps throwing jabs at Era, who dodges him for a while and then pushes him back. She hits him with a powerful kick, and though he blocks it, the next kick hits his chin and sends him crashing into the roof. With the boxer being stuck there, Era rushes to attack the alien, but he uses his ability to slam her against the wall. Suddenly, the other two aliens also get up and shed their disguise to become the zebra-like creatures they are. They tell Era that she is quite fast, but her strength is lacking. Despite that, she is an interesting specimen, and they will take her bananas for research purposes. Era says that he will never lose to them, and then a punch from the mushroom sends her crashing through the wall. Before the aliens can further harm her, Ken yells at them to stop, and then comes out from the rubble, desperately hiding his man parts. He scoots to Era's side, telling the aliens to leave the girl alone, and then transforms into his ghost mode. But before he can do anything, the aliens use their telekinesis power to slam them both to the ground. They say that Ken and Era cannot even stand up in this zone, so they won't be able to use their powers. However, there is also a drawback, because while using their power, the aliens can't enter the zone as well. That is why they have hired the mushroom boxer to hit Ken till he loses consciousness so that they can take him away. Era tells the mushroom to stop because Ken may die from his attacks. But then suddenly, Ken uses his powers to block the mushroom alien's fist and then sends him crashing into the wall. The aliens are shocked to see that Ken was able to break through their zone, but they soon realize that he got help from someone. Momo is there to help her friend, and she was the one who weakened the alien's power so that Ken could use his abilities. Ken says he is really glad to see her, but Momo has still not forgiven him for the misunderstanding earlier. Thanks to her help, Ken and Era get up to fight again, but as they charge ahead, Momo sees Ken's ass, and she immediately loses control over her power. The aliens use this chance to pin all of them to the ground, and then they go to wake up the mushroom so that he can do his job. He says that he has lost his energy, so the alien decides to give him some protein using his mechanical banana. The mushroom cries for help because it is being assaulted, but then the alien transfers his genetic data inside him, causing him to evolve. The mushroom evolves into a zebra-striped mantis and launches some super-fast jabs at Ken and Era. Momo regains control and holds the aliens back. They tell the Mantis boxer to get her first, but Ken and Era get up to defend her. Era attacks the Mantis first, but he is too fast for her and slams her into the roof. Luckily, Ken can see its moves clearly, and he uses his super speed to protect Era from the alien's next attack. The alien attacks him again, but he dodges easily, and then Era lands a solid kick on the alien's head. She does salsa with Ken, borrowing his speed to continuously attack the Mantis alien's weak point to knock it out. Suddenly, the water under their feet turns green and rises up to swallow them. The flooring vanishes and they suddenly find themselves in a bottomless water body, and even the walls and the ceiling have turned into water. Everyone is confused, and then suddenly, Momo notices Knock Less Monster's cousin above them. She knows that it is bad news and tries running away, but Ken is astonished to see Nessie, who is one of the many undiscovered mysteries of Earth. Era tries getting close to him by showing interest in his interests, and Momo tells them to die together, if that is what they want. Turns out that the aliens had employed Nessie to keep Momo down while they dealt with Ken, and they angrily tell her that they are going to cut 60% of her pay for failing to do her job. In response, Nessie shoots a laser beam that cuts him 50% off instead. Everyone freaks out on seeing this, and Momo and Ken begin swimming away as fast as they can. Suddenly, something hits Era and sends her into the water overhead. Momo thinks that Nessie got her for good, but it turns out to be the Mantis alien, who is actually a Mantis shrimp, the real one-punch man of the animal kingdom. Its punches are 10 times more powerful underwater, but it can't breathe there and has to come up to the surface to breathe. Momo tells Ken to use Turbo Granny's speed to take him down, and he activates his superpowers as he dives into the water. However, he struggles to even move from his place and comes back up, telling Momo that Turbo Granny can't swim. The Mantis guy gets underwater again and chases after them, throwing powerful punches, and they swim away as fast as they can. Ken says that they need to get Era back and then escape, but Momo says that she can't use her powers while they are being chased constantly. Ken tells her that he will keep the Mantis distracted while she rescues Era, and she tells him to stop putting himself in danger. She says that all this happened because he was too busy making out with that thought, and Ken explains that he was not. They forget about the danger at hand and start a screaming match, when suddenly Ken holds Momo's hand and tells her that if she feels bothered by something, she should talk to him about it. He says that he is fine with everyone else misunderstanding him, but he wants at least her to know the truth and believe in him. Momo is moved to hear that, and then suddenly, the Mantis alien attacks them from under the water. Ken quickly gets himself and Momo to safety, and as they are in the water, they find themselves really close to each other. They get out, and the flustered Ken promises that he won't touch her again, but Momo gets an idea. She hops on Ken's back and uses her psychic power to propel him at super speed through the water. The Mantis alien follows them, but Momo makes Ken take off, and they enter the water body above them. Momo grabs Era, and they reach a classroom, where she uses her power to bring her back to her senses. She then tells Era to strip because it is hard to move underwater in wet clothes. Era says that she has decided not to strip until her marriage, but Momo gives her no chance. The two girls get on Ken's back, and Momo tells them to give it their all because they can't win otherwise. They dive underwater, unaware that the last surviving alien decided to fuse Nessie and Mantis with him to become even more powerful. As Ken and the girls go underwater, the fused monster notices them and shoots a destructive laser beam at them. Momo manages to steer Ken to safety, and then the monster runs out of water, so it can't shoot anymore. It begins recharging water, and Ken and the girls realize that if they can stop it from sucking the water in through the holes on its neck, they can defeat it. They ride Ken to reach close to the monster, and Era attacks it first. She goes close to it, but the monster surprises her with the Mantis punch, sending her away. It then shoots the laser beam at Ken and Momo, who somehow escape it and rescue Era on the way as well. Ken says that they can't defeat the creature underwater, but if they were on land, they would have a chance. Momo gets an idea, but then a torrent of water sweeps over them again, drowning them. The fused alien monster is in front of Momo, and it decides to kill her first before researching her. It punches her with full strength, but Momo was waiting for that. Just as the Mantis punch is about to hit her, she uses her full power and displaces all the water in the surrounding, causing the alien's Mantis arms to burst. Momo confidently tells the alien that they studied about the mantis shrimp today and learned that if it tries to use its full power out of water, it will damage its own body, just like what happened now. The alien suddenly gets rid of most of his body and turns into an eel to bite Momo and take her away from the surface. It begins absorbing water to blow her away, when suddenly, Eri uses her power to restrain it and stop it from feeding the water to its mouth. Ken is perched on the hair rope, and as Momo uses her power to create air tunnel inside the water, he charges ahead at full speed, rescuing Momo and tearing through the alien. They hug each other tightly as the alien monster is destroyed, and soon they find themselves lying on solid ground. They are relieved, and Momo says that thank God it is solid. Ken replies that's what she said, and they laugh, but then suddenly, other students notice them hugging tightly without wearing anything, and begin screaming and recording them. Ken and Momo freak out as they realize what just happened. They run away immediately, and Era also joins them, further increasing the confusion and curiosity of their schoolmates. Soon, the three of them find themselves in the office of the school nurse queen, who looks less like a nurse and more like a dominatrix. She coldly asks them if the reason they were found in the hallway without clothes was because someone was bullying them, and they tell her that it is not the case. Queen tells them to feel free to talk to her because she doesn't tolerate bullying, when suddenly, an old bald man comes there to call her to the principal's office. Queen first whips him for opening the door without knocking, and then tells the students to stay in the office for as long as they like. Once she leaves, Momo and Era freak out because they were seen in a compromising position by everyone, and now their high school life is going to be ruined. Momo begins cursing the aliens for being so persistent, and then asks Era since when was she able to use acrobatic Silky's power. She replies that her powers awakened right in the middle of the fight, and Momo thinks it is understandable because they transferred Silky's aura into her to save her life. Ken speaks up, saying that the aliens were after him and Turbo Granny's powers this time. He believes even though Era's powers help them this time, they might put her in danger the next time, and she starts blushing, thinking that he cares about her. Ken says that the aliens seem to want the power of spirits possessing them, and Momo asks why don't they target the spirits directly then. Ken suddenly has a eureka moment, and he excitedly declares that he understands everything now. He pulls the whiteboard and explains that the aliens have been spotted a long time ago, but they have not made any attempts to invade Earth because of the ghosts and other supernatural creatures who are protecting Earth since it is their home. He says that despite their advanced technology, aliens can't defeat the supernatural monsters because they don't understand them, and that is why they want to capture and research people like them who have supernatural abilities. Momo and Era are blown away by his theory, but then their attention returns to the fact that they were seen by the entire school in their underwear, and they begin panicking. Era says that she will tell everyone that Momo forced her and Ken to strip, and surprisingly, Momo lets it slide because she doesn't care. Just then, Era's friends come there to take her away, and they have already started seeing Momo as the villain. Ken asks her to say something to clear the misunderstanding, but Momo replies that the only misunderstanding she cares about right now is when she saw him on top of Era. She asks him to explain things clearly to her, and he says that Era tried to kiss him, and as he was resisting, he fell on top of each other. Momo asks him what the hell was he doing there in the first place and starts nudging him to spill the beans. Ken nervously tells her that he was working out in secret so that he could become strong and look cool in front of her. Momo is overwhelmed by this surprising information, and she says that Ken has a masculine side to him after all. He is flustered as he reminds her that he is a man, and Momo starts teasing him, asking him why did he want to look cool in front of her. Ken can't keep up with her, so he decides to leave but tells her that he won't say anything that will make her look like a villain. Momo stops him, and she is too embarrassed to say anything. The romantic tension between them rises, but at the last moment, Momo's friends barge into the room, freaking them out. They ask Momo what the hell happened because they heard that she was hugging Ken naked in the hallways. Momo simply replies that they won't be able to understand even if she tells them, but one of her friends thinks that she is Sherlock Holmes and begins to create a theory from the facts they have. She begins saying that since Ken, Momo, and Era were found naked together, it can only point to one thing, which is an intense love triangle in which two girls fight for the guy's attention. They begin saying that Momo was sulking the entire time in the class and asking the mantis shrimp to teach her how to punch so that she could beat Era and take Ken for herself. Momo tells her friend to stop creating a story, but her other friend points the light towards Ken, calling him the culprit behind this scandal. On the other hand, Era is back in her classroom, surrounded by her friends who want to know what happened earlier. She acts dumb and innocent as always and says that she doesn't want to talk about it. But then everyone starts blaming Momo for this. Era's friends remark that she had been bullying Era ever since the washtub incident, and then other people also start bringing up the rumors about her being a hoe. They begin plotting ways to get revenge against her, but Era can't bear this anymore, so she tells everyone to stop slandering Momo. She reveals that she was the one who spread those fake rumors about Momo, and she is not a bad person. She leaves the class with that, and goes outside to bang her head on a bench because she just sacrificed her popularity to keep Momo safe. Momo arrives there soon, and they start bantering again while discussing how things went in class. Suddenly, they hear a familiar voice and turn around to find the mushroom boxer in front of them, covered in a white fluid. He says that he won't return home empty-handed because he has to make money for his family, and Era and Momo quickly get into battle mode. However, before the mushroom can do anything, he passes out, and in his dream, he sees his crying son and wife bidding him goodbye as he goes to work. He wakes up with a start as the dream ends, and to his shock, he is lying in a bed, covered in bandages. He is confused about what is happening to him, but in front of him, Momo is telling her grandma that this guy here is a real alien. Seiko refuses to believe that, and says that he looks like a water spirit called Kappa instead. The mushroom boxer gets up and takes his stance, but Momo tells him not to try anything because her grandma won't show any mercy. Suddenly, his feet hit the plate of food Momo had prepared for him, and he grits his teeth in desperation before falling to the ground and then starts crying. He says that no one has ever been so kind to him, and swears that he will never harm them again as he stuffs his mouth with food. After that, Seiko treats everyone to a lavish lunch as always, and they start fighting amongst each other as usual. After that drama ends, the alien tells them that he is from a war-torn planet and his son is sick. If he is not given blood transfusion each day, he will die, and to afford that, he needs a lot of money. He says that while other members of his species are strong and work as soldiers, he was weak and had to take any odd jobs he could find. He then starts crying about his weakness because he couldn't earn enough money to save his wife's life when she was sick. He apologizes for hurting Ken and others and starts crying again. Suddenly, Ken volunteers to offer his banana if that is going to fetch a good amount in alien market to help the poor guy. Momo asks him if he has lost his mind, but Ken says that he just wants to help a person in need, and he can always go and reclaim his banana. As they begin quarreling about that, the alien suddenly agrees with Momo that getting a huge amount of money in one go will not help him, and he needs to find a proper job. He refuses to be a burden on them anymore and decides to leave them alone. But then Seiko tells him that he stinks. Ken takes offense to that and calls her racist, but she doesn't give a shit about his political correctness. She smells the alien and asks if the white stuff releasing from his body was his blood, because it smells awfully familiar. She immediately gives the alien some milk and asks him to try it, and as he starts drinking it, he exclaims that this is their blood. Everyone is shocked, and Seiko says that his bandages smelled like rags used to clean milk from the floor, so she could come up with this solution. She says that she is impressed by her intelligence, and everyone tells the alien to take home plenty of milk. He says that this blood is too thin, and Seiko tells him that it was skimmed milk. She says that she has a friend who is in dairy business, and he will be willing to give a whole cow to the alien so that he can constantly provide his son with the necessary treatment. The alien bawls his eyes out, thanking her, and later, he takes the cow into his UFO, promising that he will never forget their kindness and come to their aid whenever they need him. He flies off with that, and then everyone returns to the house again. There, Momo, Era, and Ken kneel before Seiko, begging her to buy them new school uniforms. Seiko agrees to buy new uniforms for Era and Ken, but not for Momo because she knows that she is thinking of exploiting her some more. She tells her that if she wants a uniform, she should act like RoboCop, and Momo reluctantly does that. Just then, someone rings the doorbell, and Seiko sends Momo to open the door while still acting. She is surprised to see a tall, pink-haired guy named Gigi, and Seiko welcomes him because she had been expecting him. Ken asks who this handsome guy is, and Seiko says that he is Momo's childhood friend and also her first love, which makes Ken all nervous and sweaty.